If you assume that technological progress will inevitably lead to a shortage of labor, you'll find that technological advancement doesn't necessarily cause a labor shortage. Even if technology advances very rapidly, you'll see that we still have plenty of jobs. And in fact, we're actually facing employment challenges. Speaking for myself, starting from human nature is really important. The application of technology, science itself knows no borders, and technology is neutral. But in reality, if you start from human nature, you'll ultimately realize one thing: people still need emotional connection. I believe that when you grow old one day, you'll find that if you have someone to keep you company, you wouldn't choose a robot, because I think, honestly, everyone feels a bit anxious and afraid. Take science and technology. For example, they are tools created by humans. Artificial intelligence, big data, large algorithms, and large models are all inventions of people, because technology is always used by humans. Of course, as things develop, the evolution of artificial intelligence will eventually pose a challenge to human civilization itself. So what does that require? It requires an adjustment of human wisdom, and there needs to be order right. So I think there's no need to be overly anxious, because when you're young, you should live like you're young. Back when the steam engine was invented, and later when the era of information technology and the internet arrived, most people probably felt the same way you do now. We were all anxious, and some even had a deep fear of technological progress. But what did the facts show? Humanity has the ability to harness technological advancement. Secondly, I think it's very important to realize that our understanding of ourselves is still quite superficial. Humans are highly advanced and complex primates, and the development and utilization of our brains is still at a very low level. We need to believe in the power of human growth. You care about the future employment prospects for civil engineering graduates, and you're concerned about career development opportunities going forward, because your underlying assumption is that China will keep building as many houses as before, and that the economy will continue to grow rapidly. But in reality, all of that has changed. Why is that? We've entered an era of competition over existing resources. In this era, you'll notice something. Companies in civil engineering that require structural mechanics algorithms and highly specialized training won't fall behind. It's like I often say, there are no Western-style companies, because in Western industries, there are similar companies too. Anyone who's worked in construction probably knows that the style of Chinese architecture, material science, structural mechanics, housing certification, and so on are fundamentally different from most other places in the world. So if you're a graduate from a civil engineering or architecture program, and you don't want to just be part of the existing stock, but instead want to lead China's construction industry toward a new era of technical excellence and set new benchmarks after meeting standards, well, we don't need to just do repetitive work or simply throw in more resources. What we need is to raise our level of expertise, and that's where your future lies. I once wrote an article about the population reaching its peak. When the population reaches its peak, it will have a long-term and profound impact on China's future economy, because population is one of the most important factors of production in the model of economic growth. This slow-moving, long-term structural change will bring about many other changes, so we need to seriously reflect and truly provide talent for society. Only in this way can we adapt to the adjustments in our economic structure, including easing population pressures and employment challenges, and ultimately achieve balance. Actually, this is a very complex equation, and I think the government really needs to take a more active role. So, when it comes to job counseling, job training, and employment support, these are things China truly needs, right? We can't just leave everything to society and expect it to handle things on its own. Globalization has been a core driving force behind our economic growth in the past, But personally, I think we haven't reflected enough on globalization. So, as China has developed to where it is today, our share of global trade has reached 20%. China's globalization and the development of its industrial and value chains are facing unprecedented challenges. This isn't just China's problem. It's an issue with the World Trade Order. That's why, as Mr. Huang Qifan once said, a point I personally agree with, we should aim for zero tariffs, zero barriers, and zero subsidies, so that trade can ultimately move toward a roughly balanced global state. No country or major economy can withstand a long-term trade deficit, and no country can maintain a long-term trade surplus either. So what I'm saying is that the world ultimately needs to move toward greater harmony. From the perspective of shared human interests, this is the direction that a community with a shared future for mankind should strive for.